One of the things I deal with a lot is addressing the aftermath of poor quality work done before me. A lot of times, the funny thing is if you think of, well, I'm digressing, old school watchsmiths, like guys, you know, the regular guys that worked out of like jewelry stores in America, you know, the old dudes who got into like watch repair, you know, after World War II, and they came back and were looking for a career. The guys who came up in like the 50s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, they had sort of certain ways that they repaired stuff, and they had kind of like standardized tools and materials that were available to them through the parts houses that they used. You know, things like sort of generic replacement handsets and bottles of pre-made lume and stuff like this. And they operated without a sense of like real preservation, as far as I understand it or think of it. They would repair a watch, but it's just like they would repair it and they'd put it back. They wouldn't look at it and say, okay, well, this thing was they don't look at watches like I look at watches. They would simply repair it with whatever they had at hand to make it tell time, and then that was it. They wouldn't want to try to restore it to stock. It wasn't about restoration. It was about, you know, the watch equivalent of doing a brake job and that kind of stuff. So over the years, I've dealt with a lot of like weird restorations, you know, with some excellent work. Others, though, if you're getting into cosmetic stuff, they would do crazy things. Like the first 62 MAS I ever bought, the dial had been, I guess, destroyed. The guy had been a Vietnam veteran. The dial was destroyed. And rather than like have the dial reprinted, what's one of the things you used to see was reprinting, the watchsmith sprayed the entire dial black and then hand painted the markers silver, and then somehow the guy must have had incredible skill. He repainted all of the text on the dial by hand, incredibly tiny, but it was still kind of wavery. Amazing thing. Used to see that actually a fair amount. Also sort of oddish reprints and stuff like that. But the thing I used to see the most was really, really crazy bad relume jobs, like nutty relume jobs. So some time ago, I got in a watch from a gentleman. He was the original owner, and the dial had just been this horrible blobby green mess. And he'd said, "Well, I don't think let's not bother trying to save the dial. Why don't you put in a new aftermarket dial, and we'll go from there?" And I said, "Well, okay, that's fine." And so, but when I had some time and I was working on his watch, I looked at the dial and I'm like, "Let me poke. Let's poke. Let's see what's underneath that green dial." So I'm going to break, and we're going to talk about the wonderful fun of bringing back a watch. Okay, and here we go. Okay, so here's a piece of that video from when I was doing this gentleman's watch, and I have it running here on slow-mo so you can see what this thing looked like. And whoo, boy, why am I looking so pink? I don't mean to look so pink. You can see here, come on, there it is in all of its glory. Look at it. The watchsmith had gone and taken some of the standard greenish lume that you could get from the parts houses in those days and had just loomed over everything. He just loomed over the entire marker. He'd also scratched off the surface of the Seiko and of the date window in order to I don't know why he did that. He scratched them down to the brass. This is the same watch where the whole movement was replaced with a 6119, which is wrong for this model, and you can tell here because the date window is black. The date is black, black background with white lettering. It's supposed to be the reverse, so we can get a sense of what that is. So I dug into this. The guy had said, "Okay, sure, let's just replace the dial and the handsets and stuff like that." I was like, okay, well, my inclination is always to try to save things, so let's see how that looks. And I'm not doing this to brag. It's just some people on this video were like, just throw the dial away, it's garbage, it's junk, it's done for, it's not usable. And I said, well, you know what, it's not junk and it is usable, and let's see how it looks. Okay, so let's pause and I'll go over, well, you know, we don't have to pause. I can do the old school way. Here we go. So, it was lots of fun. I dug in, and the guy had done some incredibly lame crap to the watch. It was just depressing. But I was able to do some things. I had to replace the original date window, and I replaced the original Seiko. there's the handset, the hour and minute handset that came with it. Anyway, so this isn't going to look magnificent and perfect, but I think it looks better. So this is the same dial. This is the same dial. Now he scratched, whoever this person was, he did a whole bunch of like scratching inside these things. So the lume didn't sit down as much as I would have liked. But it's definitely improved. What I did is I pulled this Seiko and this date window from another 6105-8110 dial. So I would get the sort of the gray frosted surface here. You can see the scratching on the top of the markers here. I did try to fiddle with replating these with silver, but it didn't really work very well, and you have to keep that stuff off the surface of the dial. So I just gave up with that. This is the original sweep hand though. It had also been scratched to brass, and I did silver plate this. So that is replated and then re-lumed. This is an aftermarket handset that I loomed to match the dial, and I re-lumed the original pip. So, you know, to the people who were just saying just to throw the thing away, actually, I think the person said just to throw the whole watch away. You know, there's no point in throwing the whole watch away. It was this gentleman's original watch, and it's great too. Now, everything works correctly. I replaced the stem. I rebuilt the entire case with all new seals. The crown has a new seal inside of it. It has a correct stem. Crown now locks. Movement, replacement movement, hacks as it should. Crown locks, and it's running beautifully. Running beautifully. Everything now is fine. And so that's why we don't throw things away, and we try to bring stuff back if we can. It was a lot of work, but gosh, it was fun. And now this watch gets to return to life, which I think is a very valuable thing. Very valuable thing. Anyway, so I just thought that was fun. So I guess the moral of the story is that there's always hope. Always hope. And I'm looking forward to getting this watch back to the owner so he can wear it again as he did when it was new, and hopefully making up for the mistake of another member of my profession at some point in the past. Okay, well, thanks for watching. That's a Friday Fun video, and I'll talk to you later.